Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kana and this is Jar of Fireflies. Here I make videos all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 4. And today we're gonna be making dinners. That's right folks, today we are going to be making some meals. I am not a cooking channel, but every once in a while I do a video like this where I do a bunch of different weeknight meal ideas because I think it helps us all. I start to try some new things, I share some favorites with you guys, and that's basically what we're doing here tonight. So I've got a couple of favorites and a couple of new dishes that I will be trying out that I will be sharing with you guys. So recipes down below, but let's do some cooking together. But before we do, I want to share with you guys about a really amazing organization in Israel that is very near and dear to my heart. I am talking about Me'er Panim. You've heard me talk about them before, and I'm going to tell you about them again today. I'm just kind of leaving the link to them down in the description box on the regular at this point, because if you're looking for somewhere for your tzedakah to go, for your charity money to go, it's a great place. Me'er Panim is an amazing organization in Israel that helps the needy all across the country. They have a lot of regular programs like soup kitchens, free produce markets, supporting families with meals, supporting Holocaust survivors, supporting teens at risk. They do so much good all across the country. And since the outbreak of the war, their needs have increased dramatically. So they really need our help. So in addition to their regular programs, Me'er Panim is feeding over 6,000 soldiers and 2,000 families every single day. Over 300 volunteers work together to make this happen every day. Y'all, over 630,000 warm meals have been served to soldiers and evacuated families from the South since the start of the war. They've also provided over 100,000 essential care packages for soldiers with items like blankets, clothing, toiletries, and sweaters, socks, underwear, not to mention 2,700 mattresses and 500 pillows and blankets for soldiers, as well as combat essentials like tactical gloves, first aid, flashlights, and so much more. In addition to that, they've done a lot of other just really amazing things like barbecues at bases, huge breakfast buffets, a last-minute wedding for a soldier where they took care of every single aspect of the whole thing. They do all this despite the fact that many of the staff and volunteers have family that's been kidnapped, murdered, or who's currently in combat. They're showing up to help when Israel's people need it most. And they need your help right now too. You can help by donating today. I'm leaving you a link, like I said, in the description box below, and of course in my pinned comment as well. If you have any questions about them, feel free to reach out. It's an amazing organization I donate to, and I hope that you will too. All right. Now let's get on to our cooking. Okay friends, for this first recipe that I'm gonna be sharing with you here today, I was looking for something super duper simple. There are days where we're out all day and I just don't have time to put together a whole bunch of meal, or I wanna do something that has super easy cleanup. So I've been in search of a bunch of like one pan meals. I'm looking at a lot of sheet pan meals, but I found this one from Ruchama's Food on Instagram, and this one is a one pan meal. So it's basically chicken with turmeric rice, and there's just like bunches of fun spices and stuff in there, and some little bit of vegetables with the rice and the chicken. It looks super duper delicious, lots of fun Israeli flavor. So let's make it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut up this onion, and I'm going to cut this up into like thin slivers basically. So I cut it in half and then slice it thinly, and then just sort of spread out the slivers there in the bottom of the pan. Next, I've got 3 pretty good sized carrots, and I'm shredding those here in the food processor, and then I'm adding that into the pan as well. All right, now I'm cutting up 1 package of chicken and just kind of cutting that into cubes, like kind of bite-size-ish pieces. And then I'm adding that into the pan also. Next up, I've got a can of peas. She calls for frozen peas in her recipe, but this is what I have, so that's what I'm using. And then for spices, you're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/3 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of coriander, and a little bit of salt and pepper. With that, I'm also adding in 1/2 tablespoon of date syrup. And here, with probably the only thing that I'm measuring exactly, is 1/4 cup of olive oil. All right, now I'm adding in 2 minced garlic cloves, And now 5 cups of boiling hot water. I just pulled this out of the hot water urn. All right, I did forget to add the rice in earlier, so I am adding in 2 cups of basmati rice now. All right, now all I have to do is mix this together and put it in the oven. How easy is that? All right, before I put it in the oven though, I do want to cover it with a piece of wet parchment paper and then with aluminum foil. And now I'm going to put this into the oven for 40 minutes at 400 degrees. Okay, so that has been in there now for 40 minutes. And what we're going to do now is uncover that, pull off the foil and the parchment paper, and let it cook for another 15 minutes. Okay, I just served up everybody's plate. First of all, this makes so much food. This recipe is probably gonna feed us all for lunch again tomorrow. So 2 meals for one out of this one for sure. And this is with my family of 6. So, all right, let's give it a taste test. That's really good. Okay, yeah, I'm a fan. Okay, my friends, I'm feeling super under the weather today, like, yeah, actually sick, but my kids and I still need to eat. So we are gonna be making a super simple dinner tonight of Salsbury steak. I'm gonna be doing this with a side of mashed potatoes, and maybe I'll open up a can of corn when I go to serve, but the main things that I'm gonna be cooking though are the Salsbury steak and the mashed potatoes. So let's get started. Okay, for the mashed potatoes, I'm just peeling potatoes, then I'm going to boil them until they're soft enough for a fork to go through them, and I'll finish the rest of that later. But while these are boiling, I'm gonna work on the rest of the meal. All right, so I'm starting with 1 package of ground beef, and I'm adding that into a bowl with 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of Dijon, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using avocado oil. Now I'm taking this onion, I'm cutting it in half, I'm setting half aside for later, and this half I'm gonna grate up, and then I'll add that into my meat mixture bowl there. All right, with all of that in there now, I can just go ahead and mix all of that together, and then I will form patties, and that's what's gonna be the base of the Salsbury steak. Okay, so once I've got that mixture totally done, I'm just forming those into patties. I ended up with about 6 patties, and just putting those into the pan, and I'm just gonna cook those there in the skillet. I did end up putting a piece of foil on top so that they would cook more evenly and quicker because my kids were hungry. All right, once that meat was done, I just set that aside and I can get started on the gravy. Okay, so in the same skillet that I cooked the meat in without cleaning it, I am adding in about 2 tablespoons of a vegan butter alternative, as well as that other 1/2 of an onion that I've chopped up, and a can of mushrooms, a small can of mushrooms that I've also chopped up. After that's cooked for a few minutes, I'm adding in about 3 tablespoons or so of a gluten-free flour, and then just mixing that together. And then I'm adding in 1 cup of beef stock, and then 1/2 a cup of soy milk. It's a dairy-free soy milk. For anybody wondering, my favorite brand right now is from Trader Joe's. Okay, so I'm just gonna stir that pretty much the whole time that I've got those ingredients all in there, and it did not take long at all before that thickened up, just a couple of minutes. Okay, so now back to those mashed potatoes. I'm adding just a bunch more soy milk into the potatoes, as well as a generous helping of pepper and a generous helping of salt, and then a little bit more of that vegan butter alternative. And then I'm just mashing all of that together until it's well blended. Okay, to prepare the meal for the kids and for myself too, but these are their plates, not mine. I just put corn on everybody's plates, one of the patties, and added some gravy on top of the patties, and then put the mashed potatoes there as well. Okay, dinner was a big hit. We're all finishing up now, and I'll see you guys in a few moments with another meal. Hello, here we are. It is a new day. Happy to report I'm feeling much better today. So super stoked about that. Still a little tired, but that is it. Anyways, today I'm bringing you guys along as we make lunch. Doing it a pretty simple lunch today, but we wanted some comfort food, so we're going for some schnitzel. Super popular Israeli food. Pretty basic, but we're gonna be making it here today. As far as sides go with the schnitzel, I just have some potatoes in the oven that are left over from dinner a couple of days ago. My neighbor actually made them for us. They're super delicious. I don't know how she made them, so I really cannot share that with you, but they're kind of a scalloped-ish sort of potato. And then we have some fruit. So that's basically what we're doing here today. Okay, let's go make some schnitzel. So I know I have another package of chicken out on the counter, but I ended up only using one package of chicken for this. Okay, so the way that I'm getting started is I'm just cutting up this chicken into smaller pieces. These chicken breasts were actually quite large, and so I ended up cutting them into several pieces instead of just 2 pieces. Normally, if it was a smaller chicken breast, I would just cut it into 2 pieces. Anyways, and then once I've got those cut into smaller pieces, I go through, because they are so thick, and I would do this no matter what, and cut them in half again, like through the middle. You know what I mean? So I've got like 2 pieces instead of 1. Y'all, it is a good thing that I am showing you here on screen, because I'm definitely not explaining this well with my words. All right, and here is the fun part. I'm grabbing the meat tenderizer, and I get to beat up these pieces of chicken. Not gonna lie, it's a little therapeutic. Okay, helpful hints if you're not used to using a meat tenderizer is you are looking to tenderize the chicken. You are not looking to destroy it. There seems to be a fine line between tenderizing it and destroying it. Ask me how I know. All right, now that my chicken is halfway prepped, I can go ahead and put the oil on so that can start heating up, so that as soon as my schnitzels are ready, they can go ahead and go in that hot oil. Okay, so I have transferred my chicken pieces to a bowl. I'm gonna add in 1 egg. I don't know, maybe a couple of tablespoons of a Dijon mustard, and then about 1/8 of a cup of pickle juice. All right, I'm just gonna use my hands now and mix that up until all those ingredients are pretty blended and coating the chicken evenly. Okay, now we're gonna set up our assembly line. In my first container, I'm gonna put in a little bit of some all-purpose gluten-free flour. You can totally use regular flour, that's what you have. In my next container, I'm gonna add in some of that Trader Joe's dairy-free soy milk. Again, measurements do not matter. I'm leaving all of these containers out in case I need to add more. In the last container, I'm adding in some gluten-free panko and some sesame seeds, and I'm just gonna kind of mix those together really quickly with my hand. You could use a spoon if you'd rather. Okay, now we can just start going down that assembly line. I'm just taking the piece of chicken that's already coated in like the egg mixture, then I'm putting that into the gluten-free flour and just kind of making sure that that is covered, dipping it into the soy milk, again making sure that that is covered, and then moving it into the panko crumbs and making sure that it's well coated in the panko crumbs. I find that kind of burying it in the crumbs and pushing it down is super helpful for that. Okay, so my pro tip here for you guys, because there's a lot of wet and dry ingredients and you're going back and forth a lot, is to have one hand that deals with wet ingredients only and one hand that deals with dry ingredients only. That way your hands will not get super caked in batter the way that your chicken is, because you're only dealing with one type of ingredient with each hand. Okay, so once those pieces of schnitzel are ready, I go ahead and just put them into the pan where there's like a shallow layer of oil, and then I just have those going until I can see that the bottom is golden brown, and then I'll flip them over and do the second side until it's golden brown. Second side never takes as long as the first. Don't know why, it's just what it does. Okay, once those are golden brown on both sides, I'm just pulling them out and putting them here on top of this little cooling rack baking tray combo that I put together so that the oil can drip off there into the pan. All right, now here is the schnitzel all done with the rest of the meal. I'm about to call the kids in. Yeah, it looks amazing. It tasted amazing. This is seriously the best schnitzel that I have ever made. I actually had to call my husband and tell him. Okay, so we're all over there eating lunch right now. Big hits. It really goes without saying that my kids will adore schnitzel anytime that I make it. There's just no question. So anyways, my baby is wanting to know why I'm not sitting next to him. So I'm gonna go back over there, finish my meal, and check back with you guys in a few minutes with another meal. Hello my friends, and we are back. It is another day and we are gonna be making another meal. The last meal for this video. We're gonna be making chicken piccata tonight. Honestly, I came home tonight and was like, I don't know what to make. What I had planned to make for dinner tonight, it turns out I'm not gonna be able to make dairy-free as easily as I had thought. So I just sort of scrapped that plan and was like, wait, what do I do now? I've got chicken, what do I want? And I went through like a whole bunch of ideas in my head. None of them are really standing out, but then I remembered chicken piccata, always a favorite around here, not something that I make super often, and I'm not really even sure why, because it's really not difficult to make. Now, normally I would serve this with mashed potatoes. We just had mashed potatoes like yesterday, so I'm not gonna make those again. If any of the kids want this with mashed potato, I'll just make instant mashed potato for them. But my plan is really just to make the chicken, and then they can choose their own side. We've got a lot of different options as far as fruit and things like that around the house, or vegetables, things, so they can really just choose. I can already pretty much guarantee my daughter's gonna pick corn, my son's gonna pick bell pepper, and my other son is gonna pick some fruit. I'm fine with that. All healthy choices. So anyways, we're just gonna focus tonight on making the chicken piccata. And I'm just gonna show you guys how I do it, and that's what we're gonna do. So let's get to cooking. Okay, so to start out, I'm preparing my chicken really pretty much the same way that I started out preparing my chicken for the schnitzel in the other recipe. I'm just cutting each chicken breast in half and then slicing long ways to make 2 additional pieces out of the 1 larger half. Once that chicken is all cut into pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and use the tenderizer again. I'm not doing it quite as much as I would for schnitzel, but I am still gonna do it just a little bit here for this recipe. Okay, once those are done, I'm gonna add in some gluten-free, just all-purpose flour onto a plate, and then I'm gonna take each piece of the chicken and coat it in that flour. I'm not putting anything on the chicken first. I'm just using whatever moisture is from the chicken to get that flour to coat there onto to the outside of those chicken pieces. Okay, now over here on the stove, I've just got a regular pan and I'm putting in some olive oil, and then I'm just gonna heat that up and then add those pieces of chicken there and let those cook until they are done. Flipping them, of course, halfway through so that they are cooking evenly there on both sides. Now you get that kind of slightly crispy, beautiful golden color. I add a little bit more olive oil in between each batch of chicken to make sure that there's still plenty of olive oil down there in the pan. All right, and now let's get started on the sauce. I'm using the same pan, not cleaning it first or anything. And to start with, I'm adding in about 3 tablespoons or so of a vegan butter alternative. I am using Smart Balance. Next, 3/4 of a cup of dry white wine. I'm using this one from Trader Joe's. Next, about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. And most of the juice from a bottle of capers. I don't know, maybe about 3 tablespoons. All right, now I'm just gonna go ahead and stir those ingredients there on like a low to medium low heat on the stove. Get that all nice and blended, get that nice and simmering, reduce that just a little bit and burn out the alcohol. Now, normally this sauce will thicken up by this point on its own because of the flour that was just left over in the pan because it was still dirty. Today, however, it did not, no problem. I'm just adding a small sprinkling of flour, maybe a tablespoon. in there and then stirring that all together, it then quickly thickened up quite nicely and we were done. So all that's left to do now is plate the meal. So I just took a couple of pieces of chicken for each person, put a little bit of the sauce on top, and then added on some capers for a little finishing touch. And there it is. All right, and that is it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, hit that like button down below. I would super appreciate it. And drop me a comment down below and let me know which recipe you think would be your favorite. Or if you try one, of course, please let me know that as well. I would really love to hear how these work out for you. All right, and with that, we're gonna go ahead and call this video a close. Be sure to check out the information for Mayor Penny that I have left you in the description box and in my pinned comment below. And with that, we're all done. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next upload. Fireflies. Here I make videos all about words today.